Hello people, I'm the Comic Book Gamer. Today I'm going to be counting down the top 5 most overrated graphic novels of all time. Now this is all my opinion, and there's only one graphic novel on here that I actually don't like. The rest are pretty good and I like. I just think they don't deserve the pedestal they've been put on. They're like so many other books that are way better than they are, but for some reason these got the acclaim from the fans and the critics and everything. But anyways, let's get into it. Number 5 is my favorite Hulk storyline, and that is World War Hulk. Now this book is really good overall, but the thing is, nothing really happens in the end. Like this book, it's pretty good. The premise, I really like it, but in the end, nothing really happens. Hulk just kind of Batmans a lot of people, as in he just beats the living crap out of them. But in the end, none of it really mattered too much. Like there are ramifications in further books and stuff, but like it leads up to this like huge battle between Sentry and Hulk. And then that battle is very disappointing because Hulk and Sentry start fighting, and then Sentry likes the fact that he can feel pain now because of how strong Hulk is, and so he just enjoys getting punched in the face. So we don't get these two big gladiators going at it. We get Sentry enjoying being punched by the Hulk, and then they sort of stalemate, and it's just overall it's pretty disappointing in that aspect because it's finally this super powerful Hulk versus Sentry. It's like, yes, it's gonna be awesome, and then not so much. There's not really much of a payoff, and again, nothing really happens because Hulk's trying to get his revenge, but then he doesn't really kill anyone. He just kind of hurts some people, and it's like, what? But yeah, overall the story's really good and it's interesting, but to me, again, it doesn't deserve the pedestal it's been put on. Number 4 is Wolverine Logan. Now, I heard this book was amazing a while back. I was really excited for it because it was on it, like online. It was really expensive, and then I saw it at my comic shop one day. I'm like, oh, I'll get it, and I read it. And I'm like, what was the fuss about? Like this book, it was like a solid 7 for me, but that was kind of it. It wasn't that amazing or anything. It wasn't this great Wolverine book. It definitely does not deserve to be one of the best Wolverine books ever, and that's why I'd heard about it. I heard it was amazing, and then I read it and I was like, what? There wasn't really a whole lot going on in the book, and it wasn't very good. It didn't have really anything going for it. It was okay. It wasn't that great of a book. Number 3 is Superman Birthright. Now, this book is known as like the quintessential origin story for Superman, which to me it isn't. Like when I read this, I'm like, yeah, it's good, but there are other books that do what it does better. Like Superman Secret Origin by Jeff Johns is the quintessential origin book for Superman, in my opinion. I like seeing young Clark, and its Lex Luthor is pretty good, but there are just other books that does what it does better. I don't see why this one gets the praise above all the other Superman origin books. Like Secret Origin is so much better, so much more well written, and Jeff Johns understands Superman better as a character. And this book, just again, it's a good book, but it gets so much praise as being one of the best Superman books out there. And to me, that's not representing Superman correctly, because this is far from being one of the best Superman books. And I heard many people say that, oh, besides All-Star Superman, this is the best Superman book. I'm like, really? Because there's so many other Superman books that are better than this. Number 2 is V for Vendetta. Now, I do really enjoy this book, but when I read it, I was fresh off of reading Watchmen. I was on an Alan Moore run. I'm like, okay, Watchmen was amazing. I can't wait to see what V for Vendetta is. I read it, and I was like, okay, that was good, but it was like, I wasn't expecting this to be Watchmen. I was expecting it to be around that level, though, and it just wasn't there for me. It was good. There were aspects of it that were really cool. I like seeing, like, you know, the people versus the government. You know, the government should be afraid of its people. I like that aspect. That was really cool. You had that guy that was in love with the computer, which that was weird, but again, another cool aspect. And of course, V was great. But in the end, it just like there was just a whole lot of nothing going on, and then something happened. Which the same thing sort of happened with Watchmen, but at least you had more character stuff and more things going on in the book. To where in this, you didn't have a whole lot of that, and it like the interesting stuff kind of all happened at the end, and it didn't have that big of a payoff at the end. But overall, I did enjoy the book. I just feel like it shouldn't be known as one of the best graphic novels of all time, at least in my opinion. It should be just known as, hey, it's a pretty good one, yeah, you know, if you want to read it. But it shouldn't be one of those, hey, every comic book fan in the world has to read it. It's a quintessential graphic novel. To me, it's not that. And my number 1 most overrated comic book of all time is The Dark Knight Returns. Now, it's no secret that I don't like this book. It's just, There's so many things wrong with it. It's not just because of the portrayal of Superman, of course, that's a key element. That's a lot of people's favorite part is Superman. To me, it's one of the worst parts of the book, but it's not the main problem with it. There's so many other problems. If Superman was the only part about this book that they screwed up, and the rest of it was great, I could have lived with it. Maybe the reason I don't like it is because I didn't read it when it first came out or something, because, you know, it was this big revelation when it came out. I honestly don't get why it was such a huge revelation, because you had books like Dark Phoenix Saga, God Loves, Man Kills, and Judas Contract that came out before this book did, and that's all dark subject matter. Judas Contract involves Deathstroke using a teenage girl to infiltrate, a crazy psychotic teenage girl that has like earthbending powers, to infiltrate the Teen Titans so they can capture them and give them to a cult so that cult can kill them. That's pretty dark. Then you got God Loves, Man Kills, which is where this guy believes that he is exterminating all of mutant kind because God tells him to. And then you have Dark Phoenix Saga, which is this great hero that gets taken over, and it's one of my favorite X-Men stories of all time. He's taken over by this dark force and ends up fighting against her friends, and it's very, like, at the end of it, so sad between Jean and Scott. It's a great story. These are all dark subject matter. The only difference is the fact that the art is actually good in these books, unlike Dark Knight Returns. But anyways, these books, the writing is amazing, the art's great, but Dark Knight Returns, it's like the opposite. The writing feels really lazy and sloppy, and the art is terrible. Let me talk about the art for a second. The art is awful, and the art is like 50% of a comic book, generally speaking. Like, a writer can overcome terrible art, though, a really good writer, but in this case, it's not the case with this one. For this, you know, because the art lends itself to the storytelling, there's so much to it within the comic, but in this, the art's just terrible. It looks awful. It doesn't help at all. Now, the writing, the news, I liked the news at first. I was like, okay, it's cool. I like seeing, you know, what the people are thinking and things like that. It's pretty cool. And then they just kept throwing it in our face when I wanted to go back to Batman. I was like, just go back to Batman. I want to see Batman being Batman. But instead, we got the news. We got people talking about the news. Like, this just feels like he's just throwing it in there to fill up pages so the graphic novel can be this big instead of this big. It's like, no one cares, dude. Just get away from the news, because a lot of people are like, oh, that was a great element of the story. It's like, not really. At first, I liked it. I liked seeing it. If he would have used it more sparingly, but instead, he kept throwing it in our faces every time. It wasn't like how in Watchmen, Alan Moore would use excerpts of the Owl's book, of Night Owl's book. I like that. That was cool, seeing like an extra element. But this, no. We get the news, and it's like, it's not really, I just don't care about it. Like, it's not interesting. Some parts were, but majority of the news was not. And then you have Carrie Kelly, the worst Robin ever. There's no character development at all here. She just appears, and Batman's like, hey, you're Robin. And he's like, okay. And then she says Batman. It's like, she's plot device and just stupid, and there's no point to her. Cause she's just introduced in this book, and there's no character development at all, and no one cares about her. She's just a stupid Robin. And then there's Joker, who I really liked, one of the best parts of the book until the end, when he's like, haha, Batman, you know I'm gonna beat you? I'm gonna kill myself. Cause that'll work. Cause, you know, he snaps his own neck, so that way people think, oh, Batman killed him. And so, yeah, well, Batman killed that mutant guy. No one cared about that. But Batman killing Joker, that's, you know, everyone who cares about Batman killing Joker will not care about it within a month. So Joker just loses. That's stupid. Joker's supposed to be a strategic genius, but he kills himself and blames it on Batman. That's just so stupid. It's like he had this cool chase, and then Joker just like, I'm gonna kill myself because I win. It's like, no, you don't, you idiot. You don't win. That's so stupid. Everyone's been trying to kill you. You lose. It's just, it was stupid. And then to me, Two-Face was misused. He was in it for like all 3 seconds that he was in it. He was misused. I didn't really care for him. Again, Superman, so badly treated in this book because, of course, Frank Miller hates him. He'll never admit it. I don't know why. Everyone knows he hates him, but he won't admit it for some reason. When they asked him about which character he liked better, he's like, they're both, you know, just lines on paper to me. Which, you know, because everyone wants to hear one of their favorite writers say that that's how they feel about the characters, just lines on paper. But anyways, yeah, Superman, the portrayal of this character was pretty bad. Like, I really did not like how he was handled. He's a government stooge. He does whatever they tell him. When he's fighting Superman, when he's fighting Batman, he's an idiot. And that final battle between Superman and Batman to me was pretty bad. Like, even Frank Miller had to come up with this ridiculous scenario for Batman to win, because even he knew had to be this really ridiculous scenario. It was like, we'll have Green Arrow pop out of nowhere and hit him with kryptonite. We'll have Superman get hit by a nuke prior to it. We'll have Superman be retarded. You know, that makes the fight work. And it's like, okay. And yeah, just Superman. And also that fight. that fight, the art was so bad because it looks like two people from the the future in Wall-E. That's what it looks like. Those people that are on those little motorized scooters because they're too fat to walk. That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. It looks like two of those people fighting, and it's supposed to be Batman and Superman because the art is so bad. It's like, what is this? This looks awful. And so that, like, because the fight is mostly art, and obviously the writing telling how the fight's gonna go, but the art is a huge part of the fight. And so when your art is crap, the fight just looked terrible. Now, there are some good elements to the book. Again, I like Joker for the most part, besides at the end when he kills himself and it was just stupid. Jim Gordon, that's one thing that Frank Miller has always been great at. He writes a great Jim Gordon. I really enjoy his Jim Gordon. He writes Batman good for the most part, besides some things where he's just kind of stupid. Also, the origin of Batman in this book was really stupid. When we see his parents die, a lot of people got mad at Zack Snyder because in the movie he shows that, Thomas Wayne, he rushes the mugger, which causes the mugger to panic and shoot him and kill him. So if they would have just given the mugger their money, they probably would have lived. Well, Zack Snyder didn't start that. It shows it in The Dark Knight Returns. He literally took that from the comics and put it on the screen, because in this, we see that Thomas Wayne clenches his fist and goes at the mugger. He runs at the mugger. So they got killed because they rushed a mugger instead of just giving them their money. I mean, like, that's stupid. That fundamentally changes Batman. It's not like this just couple was out with their kid seeing a movie to come out, and oh no, mugger kills him with the end. He just kills him. But in this, they rush him and they cause themselves to be killed. It's just, it fundamentally changes the origin of Batman. It's stupid. It's not Zack Snyder's fault. Frank Miller did this. You can thank Miller for that. Everyone who's been complaining about that part of Batman v Superman. So yes, those are my top 5 most overrated graphic novels of all time. Again, this is my personal list. There's only one of them that I don't like. That's The Dark Knight Returns. The rest I do enjoy. They're good books. Just, I feel like there's so many other books that should be put in their place, such as like Dark Knight Returns itself. There's so many Batman books that does what it's trying to do better, and so I don't get why it gets the acclaim over those books. But anyways, please, also, I haven't read every graphic novel of all time, so I want to get that out there for anyone who's like, well, why isn't this up there? I haven't read every graphic novel. Also, please let me know in the comments below, what are you guys' top 5 most overrated graphic novels of all time? And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and I'll see you guys in the next one.